Hi. After we've discovered 5 meta builds for the Survivor site in the last video, which by the way gathered over 3k views, so definitely thank you for that, it only makes sense to now also bring 5 meta builds for Kyril to the table as well. So I hope you guys enjoy. The first bit of this video is called Active Passive Rune. Instead of Rune, Pentimento, Tinkerer, and Corrupt Intervention. Although Rune got massively nerfed in the 6.1 update, it remains still a very strong perk in my opinion that in its current state I even would consider as highly underrated. The normal game will see survivors check for Rune pretty quickly, then they'll waste time looking for Rune, and that's where Pentimento comes into the mix. Every totem that is destroyed can be rekindled. The first rekindled active totem will reduce the gen repair speed by 30%. This rekindling of Rune, that's how you could call it if you want, gives the build its name. As you might want to delay the survivors figuring out that Rune's in play, you should definitely consider bringing Corrupt Intervention. It blocks the 3 furthest gens from your location and will force the survivors to not only spread but also to come more towards the middle of the map where most of the action is going on anyway. Tinkerer in the end completes this build and is an awesome policy to ensure that gens are not being finished and you can sneak up on your opponents easily, as you are granted the undetectable status effect when the gen has reached the 70% mark. This will stop the gen from progressing, and if Rune is still in play, it will regress that gen even further. This build works awesome on faster characters, so definitely consider running it with Hillbilly or Blight. The next meta build is called Starstruck, a build that consists of Starstruck, Agitation, Pain Resonance, and Floods of Rage. This build is arguably one of the strongest in game. Starstruck is a perk that makes everyone inside your terror radius exposed. Agitation triggers while carrying a survivor. Not only does the perk increase your movement speed during that period, but it also increases your terror radius tremendously. This makes it very easy for you to expose survivors and to prevent close opponents from getting that rescue in a very fast manner. To complement this build, we used 2 Scourge hook perks. White hooks will spawn on the map, and those white hooks will trigger the perk. I don't think that Pain Resonant needs an introduction, but Floods of Rage sure does. When an unhook happens, you're granted to see all survivor auras for 7 seconds. This, in many cases, can lead to you getting maximum value out of Starstruck to find the next survivor quicker, or to give you an almost unfair advantage by being looped in its chase. With Wesker being released a little while ago, I need to give Awakened Awareness a shout out though. While carrying a survivor, you're granted the aura reading ability within 20 meters, ultimately meaning that you see survivors that are hit with Starstruck, you can follow them up and get a very easy down there. This build works perfectly on almost any killer, but in my opinion Wesker because of his stupidly big terror radius, Doctor because he has add-ons that increase his terror radius further, and Nurse because it's the Nurse, so please don't hate me for, giving an advice to play the Nurse with Starstruck. Profit from it most. The next build is called Generic. It consists of Know It, Please Don't Kill Me, Please Don't Hate Me, of Corrupt Intervention, No Way Out, and Deadlock. This perk build is not called generic for nothing. It can be used on almost any killer with a high chance of winning that game. Corrupt will ease your start of the game, as explained and build vulnerable lure survivors more to the middle of the map, which helps you find them and to start chasing them as soon as possible. Deadlock is one of the strongest regression and timers perks in the entire game. Every time a generator is completed, the gen with the most progress remaining in the trial will be locked by the entity for 30 seconds. This turns the gens all white and will tell you where survivors could be hiding. No Way Out and Know It have an awesome synergy together. No Way Out grants 1 token for each individual survivor's first hook. This will prevent the exit gates from being touched and progressed for 1 whole minute. It gives you more time to clutch up with Know It and to kill all 4 survivors. This build I highly recommend to new players. Deadlock and Corrupt both work on their own and don't need any input whatsoever. Know It gives you the awesome feeling in the end to keep you grinding, and No Way Out simply guarantees you to clutch up with Know It as much as you can. However, if you run someone like Myers, especially if you run him with the Tombstone offerings, you should consider swapping Know It for Play with Your Food. Build number 4 is called Regression at all costs. It consists of Overcharge, Cut of Brine, Eruption, and Bamboozle. After gens being up by 10 seconds in the 6.1 update, classic regression builds became more disgusting and almost meta. This build therefore focuses on 2 perks that have a combined usage rate of almost 24%, and I'm of course talking about Cut of Brine and Overcharge. Colorblind regresses gens at 200% speed, and with every good skill check being hit, you receive a loud noise notification to let you know that someone has just started working on a gen again. Overcharge, on the other hand, starts at 75% progression but ramps up to 200% within the next 30 seconds. And the fun part about this is, these two perks stack their regression, ultimately meaning that after a 30-second period, you regress the gen at 4 times the speed than normal. As this build requires you to kick gens left, right and center, Eruption is an awesome addition to it. Every time you kick a gen, it's highlighted in yellow, and if you now put someone into the dying state, this gen will start regressing, and further, if a survivor works on a gen, he will be incapacitated for up to 25 seconds. Bamboozle is here to help you in chase. To be fair, every perk that helps you to catch up faster could be named here. Therefore, Brutal Strength and Save the Best for Last seem both like decent choices for the 4th perk slot. And build number 5 is called M1 Enjoy, consisting of Save the Best for Last, Jolt, Pain Resonance and Pop Goes to Basil. At last, I need to bring a build that works almost perfectly on M1 colors, as there are very many in this game, and also they represent the classic DBD formula best. Save the Best for Last and Jolt are both perks that synergize perfectly with those killer types. They get the name from how they attack survivors most of the time, with their basic attack. Jolt plus up a gen and starts regressing it after survivor had entered the dying state. Save the Best for Last reduces the animation cooldown after a successful hit by 5% up to 40%. This however only applies while hitting any other survivor that is not the obsession. If you hit the obsession, you lose 10%. Pain Resonance and Pop are both awesome regression perks. White Ox and Trial deal 50% damage to the furthest progressed gen, and Pop 20 within the next minute of a successful hit if you damage that gen. This build doesn't need much more introduction as it's pretty straightforward. It is best played, as the name already said, on M1 killers, so Unreal, Wraith and Freddy seem all like decent choices. And this concludes the 5 meta killer perk build video. What is your favorite perk combination? Let me know down below in the comments, and with that being said, see you guys in the next one. Cheers!